Hey everyone, welcome aboard to this week's live Path to Prosperity webinar. We're broadcasting to you live from Disney World, Florida. I'll be here for one more night. I've been here since Monday night. I'm working, well, most of the time working. Okay, I did manage to have some fun while I was here. Beautiful weather. So I'll be here. Matter of fact, I've got a vacation next week. So some of you have scheduled strategy calls for next week, which is fine. I purposely put some time out there for all the new students to kind of get a jump start on things. But I'll probably start to lock that down because I need that. Obviously I'm on vacation, families coming, all that. So in any case, welcome aboard to each and every one of you. Let's check and see who we got here. Betty, good to see you. Hey Betty, I saw your message. But today I'm obviously teaching, and after I teach, it's an afternoon class. So I just had to eat something somewhere and then do the webinar here. So I'll be able to pay more attention to that once the webinar is over. And if you need a call, set up, use the link to set up a call, or if it's something even like an email or something like that, just shoot me an email. Sometimes it takes me a day to get back to the emails. But in any case, welcome aboard everybody. Cheryl, Chris, Diane, Louis, good to see you, buddy. Matt, Chris, good to see you. Susan, Tanya, good to see you too. Hope you all are doing well. So let me go to the chat box. Okay, and let's see. Let me make everybody able to see everything. So now you can see, each of you can see everybody's questions and comments and so forth. So now let's do this. What I want to do is go ahead and get started. We switched gears tonight. We had several requests over the last week or two for me to explain and go over like the school report, Melissa data, Planning Commission website, so forth and so on. Tonight, what I was going to do, let me go to my notes here. I was going to go over a new email marketing campaign I wrote for you guys. But we'll have to do that next week. Okay, we're going to stick to one subject tonight. We try to stick with one subject per webinar. Very rarely did we deviate from that. We actually did that 2 weeks ago. We had 2 student questions I covered first. Took about 10 minutes, and then we get into the subject. That's normal. What I'm talking about is combining like 2 major subjects. So tonight we'll go over school report, Melissa data, Planning Commission websites. It probably won't take that long. And again, it's going to be recorded. Okay. And always the next day, grab the email from Beverly, grab the recording, and also look for updates. So one of the updates is they are finally updating the learning management system with the new format for the investor agent program. It's no longer 5 modules, it's 10 modules, same basic content, but it's broken down into smaller pieces with some supporting video material and extra pieces, just extra supporting material. And in fact, we'll use tonight to create some extra supporting material for that module. I'll give you guys sort of a rundown on what to do, and we'll attach that onto the learning module. So you're all going to have access to the new platform. They just were putting it in today. Just ironically, they chose today to do that. But couldn't have planned any better if I did it myself. Okay. So in any case, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's subject. So let me go to my document. If I can find it here, here it is. All right, so now, hang on just one second. Gotta go back to the beginning. I'm gonna share this with you in just a second. So hang tight. Let's see, we're gonna do rotate. There we go. I'm gonna go back here and do a share for just another second, guys, and we'll be right back. Okay, now, everybody should be seeing on their screen the image of the school report. This is one of the things we go over in the classroom when I teach classes in your offices, okay? So we're gonna go over that in more detail tonight, and I encourage you to ask questions. For all the new folks, by default, you're in mute mode. All right, that's on purpose because we can't all be vocal at the same time, but you can use the chat box to type in your questions, okay? And provide answers or comments. Now, I will unmute you from time to time. Sometimes we do that for various reasons, okay? So, in any case, back to the school report. I'll just kind of start at the beginning. And remember, if you do have questions, use the chat box, and don't be shy, guys. Just get them out there. Whatever you're not sure of, you don't understand, any of the who, what, where, when, why, how questions, good time to do it because this is live, totally unfiltered, unscripted, and you get the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. Now, a couple of things here on school report. You can create this on your own. What we recommend is you have someone in your office, like a receptionist, create it. And I want to go over from beginning, like literally how you create it, how we use it, why we use it, and maybe go over an example. And then the other thing I want to tell you is this. There's an awesome tool. Many of you have already used it or heard of it called RPR. We get it as a result of being members of NAR. So I'm an investor and an agent, and most of you are also. So for anybody listening who's not an agent or watching who's not an agent, this is a tool that you want to have your investor agent create for you, okay? Especially if you're a flipper. Now, RPR lets you do something similar to this, and it's a little bit faster. RPR has access to all the data. They've made a lot of improvements over the years. It's a great tool, guys. And if you're a realtor, you should have access to it for free by virtue of the fact that you are a realtor, okay? So in any case, let's explain this version of the school report, the homegrown version, and you can see the application perhaps in RPR, and there's other things you can do too. On Kel, if you have Kel, you can do something like this on your phone, but it doesn't give you the school field that I'm aware of. It. You have to use the area field on your phone, so not the same thing. Okay, so back to this. You'll notice on the upper left-hand corner, it says school district. The original report, going back years when I found this, it turns out was designed to be built based on information at the school district level. And what you'll know if you're in every one of you is in different states. Some states, the school districts go down to the county level, like in other words, state and county. Other states have state, county, and then local level. For example, Pennsylvania and Massachusetts both have school districts that are 3 layers, state, county, and local, okay? Whereas Virginia and Florida go to the county level. They got state and county, and then that's it. That's the lowest level. So you could have a county with 7 high schools. You could have a county with 1 high school, all right? In most states where the school districts go down to the local level, in other words, state, county, local, in most cases, they have 1 high school per district, okay? I just want to point it out to you. So here's why I'm thinking for some of you, you may want to make this report at the individual school level, okay? And here's why. Let's say you take a high school. Let's say Hopewell's a high school. For every high school, you've got probably a couple of junior highs and a handful of elementary schools. And what it does is it gives you a very neat, clean snapshot of data based on something really important to our consumers, which is where their kids are going to go to school, right? It'll mean you have a much larger report, but it's going to be more effective. Whereas if you just have it by school district, and you got multiple high school areas within a school district, you'll have a variety of areas, and it's better to have the data broken down by individual specific area, okay? So now let me real quick do a check because I saw some chats coming into it. Hang on just 1 second. Whoops, I just lost my spot there. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Betty says, thank you. Oh, thank you, Betty. I appreciate that. This is from Louis. Louis, good to see you, buddy. This is from NAR RPR. There you go, guys. So what Louis just put out there, cut and paste, okay? Because this is the actual NAR RPR link, right? Now, what's interesting is NAR is in the States has far more functionality. In Canada, they've come a long ways, okay? And a lot of our Canadian agents, I mean, I'm living part-time in Canada myself, and Louis is in Canada. We do a good bit of work in the States too, okay? So in any case, back to this. Thanks for Louis for putting that out there. It's a great service you just did for everyone. Okay, now this is from Diane. Hi, Diane. She's saying, do you focus on elementary schools or high schools? So Diane, to me, it really depends on the area. I generally would focus at the high school level because it gives me enough data at a fine enough level to make it meaningful and worthwhile. Now, having said that, let's say you're in an inner city something like Baltimore, Philadelphia, what have you. You may want to make it the individual elementary school level because you'll have, a lot of people in those areas. I mean, the cities generally are going to have, of course, more a higher and more denser population than the rural areas. So what I'm getting at, Diane, is you kind of have to judge it based on where you are in the urban or suburban areas. And if you create the report and you find out there's not a lot of data out there, you should probably consolidate it to be a higher level, like school district. But if you got a ton of data, like really high numbers, a high number of actives, a high number of solds, you might want to break it down to the high school level first and then see where you go from there. High school usually gets the job done. See another one from Louis. Thanks, Louis. That's just short link. So blog.narrpr.com. So it's a blog that explains to you how you can use what's called custom reporting in RPR. So RPR, you have to click on custom reporting. I'm not going to do it tonight. It'll take too long. But then you can create your own custom report. It's one of the great things I like about that system. Let's see here. Diane is in. Yeah. Hey, Diane. Good to see you too, by the way. Yeah, Southwest Florida. That's right. So that does make sense. Thank you, Diane, for sharing that. Okay, now here's why this is important. Remember, when we're flipping a home, all right, the focus should be not just on the flipper. Obviously, let's say the flipper is a primary client. We definitely want to make sure they're doing the right thing at the right time in the right area. Okay, their product should match the market. In other words, let's say you're in Naples, Florida, right? Where you're flipping a home should be the most desirable home for the most common buyer for that area. Does that make sense? So when you use another tool, which I'll show you later, called your Planning Commission website, it gives you the demographics, so you can see exactly who's buying what where. All right. Now, back to this. We do this because we want raw data. We don't want just statistics and ratios. Good information to have, statistics and ratios, but having raw data, I mean, that's the difference between, guessing and making mistakes potentially, or missing opportunities, and actually being very precise. It allows us to zero in and focus our time, energy, and money only on the areas that have the highest probability of bringing success for our clients and us, okay? So we should probably do an example here. And again, if some of you have just seen this in class, but what happens is as time goes on, we forget things. So we've had a lot of requests on this, so bear with me if you just saw this, just consider this a good refresher course, okay? So, for example, let's look at this section right here where it says Butler between 100 and 150,000. We can see 65 homes are actively listed, and we see 39 have sold in 90 days, okay? Remember, it's a 90-day report. Now, on the surface, that might look, somewhat appealing. There's a lot of active listings out there. Property has sold. But if we think about this, there's 65 homes actively listed the day the reports run. And yet in 90 days, 39 have sold. That's about a little bit more than one for every 3 days. Well, if we're selling one every 3 days and we got 65 homes on the market, if you multiply that times 3, that's about 185 days to clear that inventory. Nobody, particularly investors, wants to wait a 6-month period to get their money back. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why we use this report. It tells us exactly what's happening in the area. All right, so let's do when I do this example in class. Look at South Butler between 450 and 5. All right, and we see one house is currently active and 65 sold in 90 days. I'm sorry, not two sold in 90 days. Now, if you just look at a ratio 2-to-1, 2 buyers, 1 seller, you know what, that feels pretty good. All right, you got a 45 days on market, and you know what, there's twice as many buyers in 90 days as there are 1 active seller today. The reality is, though, guys, is that's not a good area to flip in. Flippers don't want to be flipping where there's only one property for sale. In fact, as agents, we go hungry working that market. So we look for an area like, go over here to Seneca. I use this all the time. And look at the second, third, and fourth rows. I can see between 150 and 200,000, 28 homes are actively listed the day the the reports run, and 65 is sold in 90 days. So this is about, is 65 sold in 90 days. That's about a house selling, what, every 1.5 days, is that right? Yeah, about every 1.5 days, a house is selling. And there's 28 homes for sale right now. So, that would mean that's about 45 days on market. Okay, 28, say 30 times 1.5. Okay, let's look at another example. Look at this one. 15 sold, 15 are active today between 2 and 250, and 39 are sold in 90 days. So again, if we take the 39, we know it's a 90-day report. That's about just somewhere around 40 days on market. Okay, in other words, a house is selling more than one every 3 days. All right. Well, if we've got 15 properties and it takes 3 days, that means it's going to, on average, it's 45 days to sell all these. Okay, here's what I'm getting at. It's not 30 days. Most investors, most flippers will say, we need to have this house, once it's back on the market after remodeling, under contract in 30 days. And I would agree with that. Great benchmark, but it's just a benchmark. I would take 40 days. I'll take 45 days with these kind of numbers because I got high enough volume and velocity. So volume is on the supply side. How many actively listed properties are there? In raw numbers gives us what's called volume. How many, right? On the sold side, we get what's called velocity. This is how fast properties are selling. So we know it's a 90-day report. And let's take the third one here. The fourth row between 250 and 3. 13 houses are actively listed for sale today. The reports run. 35 is sold in 90 days. So this is a little bit closer to 30 days on market. This is probably about 2.5 days on market. And we got 13 properties, okay? So 13 times 2.5 is 26 plus another 6 or 7. That's about 32 to 33 days. See, I would flip a house here any day of the week. I know on average, I'll get it under contract in between 32 and 33 days after I put it back on the market. Okay, and that's not a bad deal. I would rather flip homes here in these areas with these kind of numbers, right, than attempt to flip a home way down here at the $1.5 million mark, right? I mean, look at that. There's nothing selling, or way up here at the $100,000 mark. I mean, there's more supply than we need relative to demand. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff we need to look at when we work with flippers. Even owner occupants would like this stuff, guys. So let me do this. Let me click on the chat box because some of you have sent chats. Hang on just one second. All right, let's go up to the chats and see what we got here. Okay, so Diane's asking, I'm in Southwest Florida, so that makes sense. Thank you so much. Great to see you, Gary. Thanks, Diane. Good to see you too, by the way. I had a good time when I was down there. I don't know if I told you this. I ate Vinny's Pizza. I think maybe that was the night after I taught you. In any case, great pizza, by the way. Okay, this is from Louis. Would buyer pay more when less inventory, say 1 or 2, if low supply and large demand equals premium price? So typically, yes, it's a function of supply and demand. So Louis is right, guys. As demand increases relative to supply, let's say supply staying relatively static and demand is increasing, well, that would generally raise prices. It'll increase prices on properties. And of course, the opposite is true too. If demand is receding and drops, drops down or supply stays the same, prices would sellers would be willing to take less over time because now it's going to take them longer to sell the property. Maybe they can't wait 6 months. They need their money now, so they're willing to take a hit on the price, okay? Supply and demand. Now, there could be some other factors involved, like the cost of money. In other words, what is the prevailing interest rate on borrowing money, things like that. So there are some other factors, but fundamentally speaking, supply and demand is the primary driver of any free market economy. Okay, so in any case, Louis, thanks for Right up. Well, here's another comment. Would you have rule of thumb to determine interesting ROI for a buyer? So in most markets, flippers would say, after all my expenses and carrying costs, I want a 20% profit, 20% return on investment. Okay. And I'd agree with that. And the way we do our formula, we want 30% upside, but it doesn't account for the expenses, did not account for carrying costs at that point. So, for example, let's say we have a house that we believe the after repair value is $1 million. Okay. Well, we have a formula called ARV, after repair value, MAO, maximum level offer. What we're looking for is if we believe the improved value of a property, basically will be equivalent to the appraisal value is $1 million, we need to subtract 30% right off the bat for profit and carrying costs. In our case, our example, what we suggest is 20% profit with 10% carrying costs. Carrying costs is just the cost of doing the sale, like paying commission, transfer taxes, things like that. Okay, so out of the 30% net, we'll take 1/3 of that, i.e. 10%, and pay our overhead, which leaves a net of 20% in her pocket, actual true net. Okay, now that's generally speaking. There are some markets, like some of the markets in California, or even up in Canada, Toronto, where prices are really high. The market, their inventory is tight. I know flippers that would be glad to take 10% net. Okay, I mean, heck, let's face it. If you can make 10% on $1 million, that's $100,000. I would take that. The problem with Louis with reducing the percentage of your profit is you run the risk of let's say you go over budget, or the project takes too long, or the house takes too long to sell, and you've really squeezed things down to 10%. All it could take is maybe one bad season. Maybe your project has an overrun you didn't expect, like you need a new roof, for example, and that's say $20,000, and you didn't expect that. Well, those unexpected things can do some real damage on your profit. So we do suggest 30%. That's what we suggest. And it gives you room to absorb the blows and also pay your carrying costs, right? So in any case, good, excellent question. Let's see, this is Doug. Hey, Doug, good to see you, buddy. For us newbies, how about contractor availability and skill? Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we'll do a whole nother section, guys, just on flipping, like, how you use the information sheets, the analysis reports. We'll do a section on working with contractors, how you select them, how you pay them, how you screen them, all that kind of stuff. That'll be a whole other subject. Tonight, I want to kind of get back to the school report, Melissa Data, Planning Commission website. So Doug and everybody, if there's something specific you want me to cover, please shoot an email to me. Gary Wilson at kw.com or Gary at realestatewithgarywilson.com. And we definitely want to prepare for these webinars in the way that suits you best. So you're the student, I'm serving you. So if there's something specifically you want to cover, please let me know via email. Okay, so back to this. Let's go forward here. Let me reduce the attendee panel. Okay, so far we're good on school report. Now, we know that the school report uses MLS data, and we also know the MLS doesn't give us all the data in the area. Doesn't give us all the MLS data, all the housing data, excuse me. So we have to use another tool, and the other tool is called Melissa Data. So I'm going to show you that here in just a second, okay? Melissa Data came out as a result of the U.S. Postal Service Every Door Direct Marketing Program. So let me scroll down and show you that. I'll go back to zip codes here in a second. So let me show you Melissa Data. All right, hang on to your seats while I rotate this again. There we go. Now, Melissa Data, let me see if I can expand this. There we go, guys. How's that? Okay, good. Melissa Data operates at the zip code level, okay? For every zip code, and this is what we use in the States, for every zip code, we have carrier route data. So if you look at this chart, we bypass PO boxes because those are the individual boxes inside the post office. And we focus on carrier routes. Carrier route are the neighborhood routes, the postal routes that the postman takes through the neighborhoods, including street names and everything, okay? And you get to see how many people live there, what they make, and the average property value. Sound like good information? It sure is. So what we do now is, in our example, we would look only at this area here at 203 roughly, this area here at 292, and this area here at 276, because those are the only three areas that are selling between 150 and 3. I'll go back up here, which is what our school report told us we should be doing. All right, let's turn to the right now. But remember, school report said between 150 and 3. So that's why we're focusing in Melissa data only on areas that are selling between 150 and 3. Oops, I gotta go down here. Let's go back again. And here we go. Okay, now, so what we're doing now is we've narrowed this down to find specific properties that we know are ideal client ones, i.e. the family with 2 children, in specific neighborhoods that are in the zip code or codes served by the school area, okay? So what we're doing is we're finding specific properties that we know our clients want, okay, based on actual raw data, Melissa data and school report data, okay? So far, is everybody okay? If you could give me like a hand raise or just type in the chat box, you're following along, you remember this, it's making sense, or you're completely baffled, something like that, okay? So let me see here. What I want to do is we've spoken about, let me do this real quick. You'll see here, there's another tool that I skipped over, and it is called, I rotated again, sorry, I did it the wrong way. So rotate clockwise, and there we go. All right, so far, let's say we have a school district, and you go to the school district website and it doesn't give you the individual zip codes that are served by the school area. It gives you towns, neighborhoods, things like that. It's okay, grab that data and use it because you can plug it into something called zipcodes.com, right? So you're right here, zipcodes.com. I wonder if we can play around with this real quick. Let's go up here, zipcodes.com. Give me 1 second here to type this in. Zipcodes.com. Okay. Oops, excuse me. And the RC blows. Let me do a screen share on this. All right. With zipcodes.com, you go over here, you can plug in address, city, state, abbreviation, US zip code database, US zip +4 database. You got 2010 census database, Canadian postal codes, zip code boundary data, zip codes API, area code database, free radius application, store locator, mobile app, goes on and on and on, right? So what I'll do is scroll down your zip code database, immediately download the US zip code database listed from US Postal Service with free monthly updates, okay? Postal code database, you get to see all the different postal codes, and you get to see the zip +4 database. We talked about that in the zip code API. Now, if you look over here, other free lookups, you can type in the city or town over here. You can type in the state abbreviation, the county, area code. There's lots of ways you can look up zip codes, okay? So I just want to point this out and show you what's possible. So in any case, that's how that works. Now let's go back to where we were. Hang on 1 second. Let me close that out. Don't need that anymore. Okay, so let me go back here. Let me go to the material. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Gotta do a screen share again. Hang on 1 second, guys. And there she is. Okay, so now we know how to, you type in the, again, town name, neighborhood name, street name to get the zip codes, all right? Then you come in here to Melissa data, all right? Let me get through just a second. And this is where you type in the zip codes one at a time, right? So you type in one at a time right here, and you get the actual carrier route with the data for the neighborhood that the postman is delivering the mail in. This is why we do this, right? So now we're getting data that's more complete, accurate data from your postal service website, and they ensure that everything, everything's accurate. There's lots of benefits for using this information. It allows you to drill down the individual neighborhood within the actual zip codes. Okay. So in any case, so far we've gotten through school report, Melissa data, and using zipcodes.com. Now we're not done yet. Okay. We want to find. Oh, by the way, if you're interested in your census data, there's the website address right there. www.census.gov data/data tools. Okay, so census is a great tool, both US and Canada, right? But what I want to do is move on to the next thing, which is a planning commission website. So I'm using the example of Allegheny County. Okay, used to live up there, own hundreds of properties, great memories. Okay, so not every region of the country or Canada has what's called a regional planning commission. This just happens to be a regional planning commission. And what they're doing is they're bringing together data from 7 different counties. Now they do this because they can have shared services. So instead of like you folks, particularly in the Northeast, you'll know what I'm talking about here. Every municipality has its own snow crew, its own water department. Everything is just, it doesn't have to be that way. You can combine resources and save some money. So that's what these guys did. They combined resources to save time, energy, and money. Now, the underlying data is still very relevant, okay? So we can see, for example, let's just go into Allegheny County. Oops, excuse me, I'm not sure. Oh, you know what, guys? This is a PDF. It's not a live version. I apologize. I was going to click on this and show you. Here, I'll just scroll forward and show you the kind of stuff you get. This is just this one planning commission website. Every county in the US and Canada and every town has what's called a planning commission, okay? Now, I do prefer county levels better because county level planning commissions generally have more data, all right? And as opposed to like the individual town level or city or whatever. Now, again, the data typically comes from US Census.gov or Stats Canada in the case of Canada, right? Also, your county's housing records are part of that. They grab that data, right? So they put all this data on these planning commission websites because they're trying to determine where they're going to build the next school, park, bridge, basically how they're going to deploy our property tax dollars, okay? Now, we can use all kinds of data here to help us determine if we're flipping in this example in the right place, okay? And you can see here, there's, look at this. You got age, race, and this isn't redlining or steering. We're using public data. This is data the government provides to the public, okay? So in any case, if we scroll down here, you'll see there's all kinds of data. Look at this, household type, households with individuals of a specified age, housing occupancy, vacant house units by type. And one of the things you'll learn here is when you're investing, there are sweet spots for investing. There's certain areas that make better sense for flipping. Some areas make better sense for buying rentals. Okay, so let's see if I can find one that kind of sticks out. Maybe you're not too happy that I'm showing everybody this. But one of the things I want to get to is, how do you know something is a good area, an area is a good place for flipping or a good area for buying rentals? Well, there's a ratio I'm going to show you here. Hang on just one second. going way back up to the top, okay? Let's see if I can find it. It gives you the percentage of people that are, here it is right here. Look at this. Occupied housing units, owner-occupied housing units, and renter-occupied housing units. We get a breakdown by actual numbers. So what we know is this area is 55% owner-occupied and 44% tenant-occupied. Well, I would probably buy rentals in this area. I'm not saying I would never flip, but I would be very selective about my flipping in this area. What we know is we've already got a set of data that tells us 55% own their own home, 45% rent, okay? So if we're flipping a home, I want to only flip an area that's greater than 2/3 home ownership, or in this case, 2 out of 3, right? Or two out of 3 properties are lived in by the owners. Those are good areas for flipping. Now it turns out for rentals, you want to have a sweet spot. It's between 1/3 and 2/3. In other words, in an area that's good for buying rentals, you would have between 1/3 and 2/3 of the population that are renting, okay? If you go too far above that, where say 90% are renting, that might not be such a good area. Okay, it's just been overrun, it hasn't gone through gentrification, and just old neighborhood that hasn't turned around yet. Now, having said that, there are exceptions. If you can ever buy rentals around a university system, hospital system, college, whatever, high-tech office building, office complex, or shopping, you may have, let's take a university, let's say housing near a university. Sometimes you'll have greater than 90% rentership. That's an exception, and that's okay, because all those students gotta have a place to live. But that's an exception. Now let's take the other extreme. Let's say you've got 20% tenant occupancy. That's not a bad thing, guys. What it means is it's a good area for flipping. You have strong home ownership, okay? And houses are generally higher priced there, and you don't want to be renting. House prices are too high. Your rent to cost basis won't be justified. All right. By the way, speaking of rentals, let me just go back a second and talk about, we use the example of flipping a home to show you school reports so far, right? So what I want to show you is how do you determine an area that's good for buying rentals, because we know how to determine a good flipping area. What about the rentals? Okay. Well, here's an example of a good rental area. All right. Zip code 15229. Some of you are in Pittsburgh and you're going to recognize this, okay? This is Westview, which is just north of Pittsburgh. Technically was carved out of Ross Township. Well, what we can see here is we got a lot of apartments compared to the previous area. Let me go back here, right? Well, there's no apartments. The area we talked about for flipping has no apartments. But if we go to this area, the next area, that has a lot of apartments, we know we have more rentals there. So let me just stop here for a second, because I see we got some chats coming in. So hang on one second. Okay, let's see. First newbies, how about contract availability? So we talked about that. Okay, Louis giving you the link for Melissa data. Thanks again, Louis, for doing that. Okay, Cheryl saying it's coming back. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I lost connection there for a second. Okay, so there's the zip codes link. There's the census link. All right. Hey Louis, if you could go ahead and put in the Stats Canada link too, if you don't mind, for the any fellow Canadians on right now. And let me go back to the lesson. So what we know here is when we know wherever we have more apartments, we generally have more rentals. All right. I would look in the areas that have the most apartments, because I know I might miss opportunities in these other areas. Like I would look in the area with 177, I'd look in the area with 133, I'd look in the area with 124. Okay, I wouldn't look at the area with only 4 apartments or the area with only 7 apartments. I might look at 44, and I might even look at 60. But I'm only going to look in areas that have the most apartments when I'm looking for rentals for my clients and myself. And I would only search those areas because I've reduced my effort and I've increased the probability of finding the rentals in those areas, okay? So in any case, so that's the rundown. So looking for rentals, it's not, we don't really need school report for that unless you're renting single family homes and families renting single family homes that are 3 bedrooms. Generally you're interested in the school area, but people renting a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment generally are not so too much concerned about the school area, okay? All right, guys, that's really what I had for tonight. I told you it's going to be probably a little bit shorter than normal. There's your link for census tools. Again, there's an example of a region. We gave you that there, went over some possible sources of data or examples of data. All right. So let's see. I think that's coming up to the end of this section. Yeah. And you really, we'll go over this kind of stuff in another session, but just talks about A, B, and C neighborhoods. By the way, we avoid war zones. Anything below a C, sometimes we nickname that a war zone. We don't want to be operating there. If you're buying rentals, you want to be like in the C range, C minus, C plus. If you're flipping homes, you want to be in the B range, B minus, B plus. Every now and then a C plus. But we don't want to be flipping in the A area. I mean, you can try it, but it's very difficult because there's fewer of those homes. People generally don't lose their homes and when they own those high-end homes. And when it comes to rentals, you don't want to buy the luxury rentals. I mean, you can. I'm not saying you legally can't do it. Let's say you're loaded and you just need a place to park your money. Well, you would buy maybe luxury condos because maybe they go up more in value than average quality condos. It's just if you try to rent them out, your rents compared to cost basis won't be justified, okay? So that's really when we look at A, B, and C properties, we want to know what our objective is, what our goal is for this particular investing, okay? There's zip codes, there's the census programs, there we go, from Canada, thanks Louis. How important is average income for rental area? So Doug, great question by the way. Now when it comes to rentals, again, we want to have C minus, C plus areas. Generally speaking, what that means is you'll have more of a blue collar type neighborhood, which is great. In fact, I know plumbers that make way more than most people I know went to college, okay? But generally gonna get more tradespeople, people more like, they're younger, maybe they're nurses, they're, teachers, things like that. They're just getting out of college, they got college debt. They can't afford a house, they don't have a down payment, and yet they want to be in a nice area. So those are good examples of people you want to rent to in a good C area, and they'll be okay with a C area. Well, you can determine what those people make. They'll tell you on their application, number one, Doug, but number two is you can actually go to labor and statistics, okay? It's a government website, just Google labor and statistics, and you can get average salaries for every type of job out there in every category in every industry, okay? So if you find out that the people that are renting the C grade 2-bedroom apartment in town and they're paying an average of $1,000 a month, for example, and you see that the average tenant is a college grad, you can get all these demographics, by the way. You can see that they're typically college educated and professionals, that fit, and teachers fit that category. What was the other example? Nurses fit that category, things like that. You can basically gauge what they should be making and go to the labor and statistics to get to specific data. But I will tell you this, when it comes to leasing an apartment, we're going to get off the subject here for just a second. You definitely want to screen them for basically, credit, job history, public record, which is, do they have any criminal history, and references, job history too, by the way. It's actually, so job history. So where they've lived, where they've worked, public record, and credit, the actual credit number, credit score. Those are the 4 things you look at. And I generally don't budge on any of them. Like, I don't want anybody in my apartments that's got a felony in their background. I know I'm being tough here, but if I have an apartment building and I've got families in there, young, women, single women with children, I don't want an ex-con in that building, okay? And it's not discriminating to do that. It's not discrimination. And I put in my lease policies that I have basically I draw the line on felonies. It used to be anybody that had basically a crime of violence against another human being, then I wouldn't let those guys in. But some people had a felony like way back in the big recession. I knew people that went to jail, lawyers, for doing settlements incorrectly, to have allow kickbacks and things like that, and they paid a price for it. So, that kind of person, I would probably let in my apartment because it wasn't a crime of violence. I'm not saying that I'm condoning what they're doing, but I don't have to worry about them beating up the neighbor. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So that used to be my guideline, and I realized over time I got to be careful with that. So my broker told me just make it a flat. Anything felony and above, you don't pass the litmus test. Okay. So in any case, we kind of went off on a tangent there, but hope that helps, guys. So I think that's pretty much it. So next week I was going to go over. Let me see if I can find next week. The booklet campaign, but I think what I'll do is I'll do the email marketing campaign I was promising you. So this is a campaign you're going to be able to give to your clients, okay? In other words, you're going to email your clients with this content. I'm going to give you the scripting, the content to give them, and everything allows you to nurture relationships that's highly targeted, specific marketing, so they'll likely open it and respond to it. It also gives them information they need to know about flipping, buying rentals, and all that. It's all free for them, of course, free to you too, because you're already in the program. And it'll help you shake loose what we call the low-hanging fruit. You've already got clients out there, guys, in your database, contacts, who do want to invest. I'm going to show you how to shake them loose and get those transactions out of your current database, and also nurture the other relationships long term. So look for that one, and then later on, after maybe the one after that, in the week of March 30th. I think I need to pick a webinar date for that. It looks like I do. Maybe we'll do the booklet on that one. Okay, how about that? Okay, guys, listen, take care of yourselves. Louis, you two stay safe. God bless you. God bless all of you and your families. My personal thought on this is, in my family, 5 brothers and sisters. Both my sisters and one of my brothers are nurses. So 3 of the 5 of us are nurses. And my oldest sister married a surgeon. So they gave me some really good factual data on this whole thing. Obviously, it's serious because we see what's happening in the marketplace today and yesterday. But the thing is here's what's unique about it. The degree to which someone gets sick is actually not that severe. It's really pretty mild unless you're elderly. The average mortality rate is 80 years old. So in other words, elderly people succumb to this virus. But children are not really being affected by it. And people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even up to 60, generally, you might even just get like mild flu symptoms. But here's the problem with it. Number one, it's a surface transmitted virus. It's not transmitted through the air. It's not airborne. It's transmitted on surfaces. Like, so if you're in a busy area, like a concert hall or a sports facility or an airplane or a cruise ship, okay, you've really got to just like constantly wash your hands. You should wear a mask so you don't touch your face accidentally. You don't want to be touching your face. Remember, it's contact delivered, right? It stays on clothes for about 2 days. You can, if you feel like you may have accidentally got some on your mouth or face, gargle with salt water. It kills it. It does not like the sun. It does not like the heat. Okay. And all the other surfaces like wood and metal, it could live up through a couple days there. But check this out. And this is important. Everybody's grabbing the hand sanitizers off the shelves. And that's not that it's not a bad thing, but the hand sanitizers don't wash away the remains. In other words, the fatty cells of this virus, the lipids, are easily encapsulated by soap. Okay, so just good old-fashioned hand soap. Wash your hands, but rinse it with water, because water is what wipes away and washes away the molecules, the virus cells. So remember, hand sanitizer is not going to get rid of the cells, right? It'll encapsulate them, but not get rid of them. You have to wash with water. In any case, the real challenge is the velocity with which it spreads. It's speeding, it's spreading at such a fast pace. That's why we're seeing these dramatic measures, okay? So in any case, I see what's happening, the NBA, the Major League Baseball, the NCAA tournament. It's a shame. I hate to see that. I think we all do. But small gatherings is fine. Going to the grocery store is fine. Just make sure you wash your hands when you enter and when you wash your hands when you exit, and wash your hands when you get home. Wash your clothes, and I'll see you in the classrooms, and everything's going to be okay. Now, I'm going to make one more comment here. I know this is like stirring up a firestorm. When it comes to real estate, and I don't want you to think I'm a callous person. I'm not, but I've been through 4 cycles, and I can tell you, and I'm going to ask you the question: whenever you see adversity, what does that generally create for investors? What does adversity create for investors? And type in your answer. Opportunity. Guys, I can tell you, in the last recession, there was no properties that were actually bulldozed. I mean, maybe some were, but it's just normal course of business. They just changed hands, all right? So the wealth didn't go away, the wealth just changed hands. And who's in the middle of changing the hands? Well, us people like us, agents and brokers, okay? So my best years were in the first 3 years of the recession. I was written up in the paper, on the radio, television, put up on a stage. I mean, it was just crazy because I worked with investors. So I would tell you this, guys, don't let this thing scare you and get you down. Look for the opportunity. Be prepared. Make sure you're working with these investors and be aggressive about it, okay? So in any case, thank you for your comments, guys. I'm reading this now. I appreciate that. You guys stay healthy too. If you got questions, shoot me an email. And if you want to cover something specific in the webinar, please email me, let me know. All right, take care of yourselves. God bless you, and we will see you next week. Okay, see, yes.